Hello and welcome to this edition of EB-5 Investment Report. I'm your host, Amy Rios. The success or failure of the EB-5 program relies heavily on the proper management of local regional centers and the investments they offer. Today we will be talking with Al Rattan, President and CEO of USA Continental Regional Center. USACRC currently has several successful projects located in Murrieta and is one of the region's more successful EB-5 regional centers. Welcome, Al. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about USA Continental Regional Center and the type of EB-5 investment projects that you guys are doing and why you decided to go in that direction?
Sure. USA Continental Regional Center, we're a designated regional center. We're about a year and a half old. Primarily, we're a development group first. We're based in Murrieta, California. One of our areas of specialty is medical, commercial, and senior housing.
Okay, now I know that you're affiliated with a development company, Continental East Development. Can you explain that relationship?
Sure. Continental East Development is entity about 3 years old. We're an Asian opportunity fund. We've had investment groups from China, from Vietnam, and to date we've funded 9 investments.
Can you explain what an Asian opportunity fund is?
It's a definition that we define that majority of the investors are coming from Asia. If you recall, we had a small market hiccup in October of 2008, probably one of the worst hiccups the country, at least I've seen in my lifetime, and we started going over to Asia to seek out potential investors who saw an opportunity to invest in Southwest Riverside County.
Now, what are some of the EB-5 investments that you are currently working on, and what are some of the obstacles and issues that you've had to face in order to make these projects work? Currently,
we have 2 projects that we're underway with. Our first one is a medical office building in Murrieta, California. This was a failed property. We ended up buying a note for closing. There was a host of issues that we had to do to remediate the property, but the good news is we were able to negotiate a long-term lease with an organization called Radnet. They're a national outpatient diagnostic center, do all kinds of imaging. They're open for business, and we're creating lots of jobs. Our second project is a shopping center. We've been open for about a year. We're ahead of schedule on leasing. We're about 60% leased now. Again, this was a failed project that we turned around.
Now, in regards to Radnet, was that a business that was relocating, or was it an expansion that would create more jobs for the city?
Radnet is expanding.
Oh, okay.
They were literally located across the street. They had wanted to be in this project before it went back to the bank. And what they're doing is, rather than just being located just in Murrieta, this new imaging center will be for the whole entire Murrieta-Temecula Valley.
Now, we are talking about jobs that are in Murrieta. Is your geographic work scope, does it go beyond that?
We're approved by the federal government. Our territory is Southern California, from Ventura County south to San Diego.
Do you have some other projects in the other areas that you can
We do.
discuss?
We have a project in Moreno Valley, a planned senior project, another one back in Murrieta, another senior project, and we just went into escrow in Indio for a planned senior development there too.
Now, with EB-5, with the program, can you explain how that works with the Antelope Square project, for instance?
What the EB-5 investment opportunity allows is, let's say we have someone living in the United Kingdom who doesn't like the taxes that the British people impose on there, and they decide that they want to come to the United States. Well, they're able to in a designated employment area, which is an area that the government says has unemployment at least greater than 12%, put up $500,000 investment, perhaps through a limited partnership. If the project does well and the jobs are created, in a couple of years they get a nice permanent green card, and then they're off to citizenship.
Now, of the projects you're currently working on, how are investors actually involved, and how do they get paid back on their investments?
Well, the 2 properties that we're involved in involve what we call a loan model. They're In the EB-5 world, there's probably two programs: the equity concept, where the investors take a larger piece of the deal. Maybe the regional center will participate in the cash flow and profits of that, or what we call the loan model. In the loan model is the EB-5 investors invest in a limited partnership. That limited partnership makes a loan, for example, to our development company. Since we have no debt on the properties before they come into the property, they're extremely secure. And so the goal is, after 5 years, that they would be paid off. And their security is the asset itself. The basis of refinance would be the easiest way to pay that back investment.
How does the loan process create jobs?
That's a very good question. Let's take, for example, the medical building. Project failed, goes back to the bank, it sits empty. Had it not been for the attractive EB-5 financing, we would not be in a position to offer good incentives to someone like Radnet to basically say, locate here, bring your jobs here. We have very good and attractive financing. And it's kind of like a trickle-down effect, is that through the financing, the tenants is allowed to provide an opportunity perhaps they didn't have, more capital that we can provide to give them tenant improvements. And in turn, once that tenant moves in, the jobs are created.
Now, do you know how many jobs have been created through Antelope Square and Radnet?
The Radnet has forecasted about 3 years out to be 50 jobs. They just opened up.
Now, Continental Regional Center has been successful. What are some qualities that make a successful regional center?
I believe that perhaps the more successful regional centers out there, there's a fine organization called American Life in Seattle, and they're really a development group first, is that they put their projects together, they manage their projects. They're not involved in what I call the rent-a-loan system, where the EB-5 provides the money and in turn loans that. They're very much in the development business, and I think that's why we've been successful too, is we're developers first.
We recently spoke with Judy Chu, congressional chair, and she was saying that some of the problems with the program is the slow approval process. What are some other issues that you see face this program? I
think that what is happening is that the USCIS is doing a much stronger proactive job in, if you will, policing the system. Is that, as an example, there was a failed regional center in Victorville, another one in El Monte, and I don't think that is good for the program. It's certainly not good for USCIS, and I believe the director is a former prosecutor. So I think what they're doing on a more positive basis is looking at ways that to make regional centers do their job, more due diligence, more feasibility, and in turn I think that as a result of that, for a while, because of these new regulations of justifying why a project makes sense, it's had slowed the project down, but I think at the end of the day it's going to be for the best.
Al, recently the Senate approved the Regional Center pilot program. We're still waiting for the House to approve that. Now, what is your opinion, and what do you think of this slow process it's taken to get this program renewed? Well,
I think that at the end of the day we're in an election year, and I think it's to do with timing. All of the intel, we've met with most of our local congressmen in Southern California, both on the Republican and Democratic side, and senators, and everyone seems to be extremely positive about the EB-5 program. And the organizations such as IIUSA, which is a national lobby group that represents both immigration lawyers and a majority of the EB-5 regional centers, are highly confident that when Congress gets back to work in September, that the bill will be renewed for at least 3 years.
Now, why is it keep being renewed instead of granted permanence?
Well, if I had that answer, I could probably run for office, but I'm just running a regional center. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. USA Continental Regional Center is a USCIS approved regional center and is one of the few regional centers that offers projects without debt, backed by a developer with solid liquidity. USA Continental has been able to take advantage of this by developing special expertise in the healthcare field. USA Continental is also approved in other industry sectors, including hotels and retail shopping centers. If you would like to learn more about USA Continental, simply click on the icon to the right. I'm your host, Amy Rios, and I want to thank you for joining us for this edition of EB-5 Investment Report.